From the time when Tom Selleck dipped his toes into the horrors of the horror genre, to when Sammy Gale had the dishonor of being in a Nicolas Cage movie, let's dive into these Blue Bloods actors' early roles that they want us to forget. I'm going to start with everyone's favorite, Tom Selleck. Ah, the tale of the great Tom Selleck and his journey to stardom. A journey that features, unknown to many, a little horror film known as Daughters of Satan. In this particular film, you're transported to a world of witchcraft and dark magic. Selleck plays James Robertson, an art dealer with an unfortunate penchant for purchasing paintings that get him stabbed in the back, literally. His wife isn't happy at all with his latest acquisition because it shows her ancestor being burned at the stake. And as luck would have it, James is a descendant of the man who did the burning. Talk about a family feud. Now, you might be wondering how Tom Selleck managed to keep a straight face during all of this. Either way, you can't blame Tom if he wants fans to forget everything about Daughters of Satan. After all, it's not every day that you get to be in a film where the witches are the only things scarier than the special effects. Just remember, even the greats have to start somewhere. Which now brings me to Will Estes. A long time ago, Estes had the rather unfortunate honor of lending his voice to the animated feature Once Upon a Forest, a movie all about magical forest and cute woodland creatures. But the most important thing, this is a film about environmental conservation. So there are plenty of clunky dialogue and sledgehammer emotions thrown in for good measure. Critics were not kind to Once Upon a Forest, with one particularly scathing review from Roger Ebert. Ouch! And that's why Will Estes would probably rather that fans forget that he was ever a part of this movie. It's not every day that you get to be a hero in a magical forest, but when the reviews are bad, it's probably best to move on and pretend it never happened. Now, it's time to move on to the next actor on today's list. It's none other than Donnie Wahlberg.
Nadia, he said it was his fault. Okay, now take it easy. Just tell me what happened, all right? Let's end it.
Oh, Donnie Wahlberg, the man people called a boy band sensation. Look, I'm not saying he's not an acclaimed actor, but everyone has their misfires, yeah? For poor Donnie, that misfire is Bullfighter. With its convoluted plot and heavy-handed religious metaphors, Bullfighter makes you wonder if the filmmakers were trying to make a Western or an art house movie. Seriously, what were they thinking? Donnie plays Cholo in the film and does his best to play the tough guy with a bandana, but even his acting prowess can't save this train wreck of a movie with its multiple storylines, including revenge plots, angels and devils, and a bank robbery. Bullfighter tries to court every type of audience possible, but fails to put it all together. It's no wonder why Donnie wants fans to forget about this movie. It's a far cry from his acclaimed performances in The Sixth Sense and the Saw franchise. But if you think Donnie has nightmares about his role, wait until you hear about what Bridget Moynihan wants fans to erase from their memories.
Jack, the other day was lovely, but I think we should just leave it at that.
She's got a pretty impressive resume with movies like I, Robot and John Wick under her belt, but unfortunately, she's also got a stain on her filmography that she probably wishes wasn't there. That stain is called Whipped. You see, Whipped is a movie about three repugnant misogynists who talk about nothing but their lives, and Bridget Moynihan plays one of their conquests. Yeah, not exactly the kind of role you want to be remembered for. After watching Whipped, you might find yourself wanting to take a bath in bleach just to wash off the stench of it. And honestly, you can't blame Moynihan for wanting to forget that she was ever a part of it. You know who else wants to forget a certain movie she was a part of? Yep, it's Sammy Gale in a 2012 action flick, Stolen. What's worse than being kidnapped by a criminal mastermind who's seeking revenge? Being stuck in a movie with Nicolas Cage. Well, that's not exactly true, but it's close. Sammy Gale plays Cage's daughter, Allison. Gale has played on-screen daughters before, but it's probably best to forget about Stolen. The film is a forgettable, made-for-scale affair, but you know who else wants to get rid of this stain on their resume? It's Gregory Jabara. The man was stuck playing a character called Young Cop in the second part of Crocodile Dundee, despite that blip blip on his record, Jabara has made a name for himself as an accomplished actor on both stage and screen. He's got a Tony Award, people. He's been in everything from In and Out to Family Guy, and even lent his voice to commercials. Sure, Crocodile Dundee is a stain on his otherwise stellar resume. In fact, maybe he wants fans to forget about it altogether. It's not like Young Cop was a groundbreaking role. Speaking of not so groundbreaking roles, I'm surprised I haven't brought up Robert Clohessie's role in Monsters. Let me just say that you're in for a howling good time with this one. Robert Clohessie has played a lot of tough guys in his career, but none are as scary as his role as Stanley in Monsters. In this episode, he's not just a regular guy with a bad attitude, he's a were-hyena. It's not Clohessie's fault that the episode One Wolf's Family is so bad, with jokes that fall flatter than a pancake and a plot that's hairier than the beastly characters themselves. Even Clohessie can't make it work. It's not every day you get to see a TV cop transform into a ferocious animal. So it's one very absurd, howl-worthy performance that's best not remembered. Time to move on to some vampires, folks. You probably had no idea Jennifer Esposito was a part of Dracula 2000. Playing Solina, the role couldn't have been more stereotypical if it tried, because when she turned into a vampire, she just slinks around in a bridal gown, looking like a cross between a goth chick and a disaffected princess. It's no wonder Jennifer wants fans to forget this role. You could say Dracula 2000 was rock bottom for this actress, but that's not the worst rock bottom on this list. The real rock bottom was Steve Scarippa in The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Picture it, Steve Scarippa, the imposing frame and gravelly voice that would make any mafioso think twice. Now, imagine him in a leopard print suit, wearing a ridiculous wig and doling out bets on a prehistoric roulette table. That's the role he played in The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Scarippa might have only had a brief cameo as a croupier, but it's a role he'd rather forget. He's come a long way from the dinosaur flatulence of the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Fans love seeing him in Blue Bloods. And now finally, it's time for John Ventimiglia in The Cowboy Way. Long ago, John Ventimiglia was a struggling actor looking for his big break. His early resume boasts obscure indie flick and brief stints on TV shows, but he managed to land a few roles in big studio movies, including the 1994 comedy The Cowboy Way. Ventimiglia appears fleetingly as a New York City cop, a role that's as bland and forgettable as a stale tortilla chip. The movie itself is a hodgepodge of stereotypes and cliches. It's hard to tell who looks more uncomfortable, the actors or the poor horses they're forced to ride. Ventimiglia has since moved on to more substantial parts, but he probably won't mind if fans forget about this particular outing. Who can blame him? Even a rodeo clown would find this movie hard to stomach. So that's a wrap on roles blue blood actors want fans to erase from their memories.